And the United States Congress has passed a bill to address anti-Asian hate crimes amid a rise in attacks. The legislation now heads to President Joe Biden for his signature. Nathan King reports.
The hate crimes bill against Asian Americans passing here at the US House of Representatives by a wide margin, 364 to 62. It already passed the Senate a while back, overwhelmingly as well. And essentially, what it does is it puts someone in the Justice Department that looks out for hate crimes against Asian Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic era, and essentially advises state and local governments on hate crimes. It'll also put someone in the Attorney General's office to inform law enforcement about reporting. The big worry is that a lot of Asian American hate crimes go actually unreported, even though we've seen a huge spike, over 160% according to AAPI Hate. They say there's been over 6,600 hate crimes against Asian Americans from March last year to March this year. And of course, those horrible killings in Atlanta of the 6 people in the massage parlor, 4 of women from Asian descent, really horrified this country, but so many small instances that are being kept as well. Grace Meng, a congresswoman from New York, has been one of the big voices behind this. Let's take a listen.
There is no place for hate, underscoring that the discrimination and violence against those of Asian descent is unacceptable and will not be tolerated, demonstrating that Congress has the Asian American community's back, and making clear that an attack on the Asian American community is an attack on all of us.
There has been some criticism that essentially this doesn't do enough, that it essentially basically just helps law enforcement rather than the attitude against Asian Americans that we've seen develop since the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course then President Donald Trump talking about things like Kung Flu when it came to COVID-19. There's a feeling very much that you have to change the attitude when it comes to Asian American hate crimes, and the feeling in the country. And I can tell you, this Congress, they passed this bill, but if you look at some of the legislation going against China, it has some very heated language in it as well, including the Strategic Competition Act and the Endless Frontier Act. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they balance those two things. Joe Biden says he will sign it. His press secretary tweeted out he'll sign it later this week. We also, this day is the Asian American Pacific Islander Day against hate and bullying, and we saw campaigns online, we've seen demonstrations in the streets. The Asian American community, long more silent than others, they were called the model immigrants, rather patronizingly for decades, are really finding their voice in this time where people are pointing fingers for no apparent reason. Nathan King, CGTN, just outside the US Congress.